Okay, are we good? I think we're set. Just wait a minute. Yeah, I know it's from my. Yeah. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to go here, do this. Alright, we're set. So, I'm back. I know it's been a minute. Been really hard to try to keep everything going day by day, but we're here. Real quick, I want to talk about something. Yesterday we had arguably one of the craziest events occur. 6 a.m. back over here in South Dakota, we had a cluster of storms making its way, kind of like went like this way a little bit on its track. But it did end up producing 131 mile per hour wind gusts. It was a pretty serious storm. One of the craziest looking supercells on radar that I've ever seen in quite some time. Pretty insane what went on. There was a bunch of damage reports. There was of EF2, EF3 damage from the winds. Pretty insane. But we're here to talk about what's going on for the next couple days, and we're gonna kick off with what's starting off today. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather. This is mainly just for Kansas. Yeah, this is literally just for Kansas. Uh, and we have a slight risk that encompasses that goes all the way back down to Amarillo and includes Liberal, Lamar, and just to the west of Grand Island. We have another slight risk up here. This is going to be for Wisconsin, a tiny section of Minnesota, and Michigan. And then we have another slight risk, which includes the upper New England or upstate New York and upstate Vermont. Large marginal risk surrounds that. We also have a little marginal risk back down here for the deep south. Main concerns for today will be damaging winds, destructive damaging winds anywhere between 60 to 80 miles per hour at times. This hatch zone means that we could see winds in excess of 75 miles per hour. Within that 30% zone, I would expect probably 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. We have another hatched risk back over here in far northern Michigan. I do believe that could actually get upgraded to a SIG 2 sometime on the next outlook. I think that's a very possible thing. And we have a regular 15% wind risk for upstate New England. Hail risk is going to be a not that big of a concern, but there is a good chance that we could see some pocket change size hail back up in the UP of Michigan, and there is a chance for some large to very large hail back down here in Kansas, Colorado, and Oklahoma. That's going to be really contingent on if we even get supercells instead of a cluster. And the tornado threat is low. Gosh. Tornado threat is lower than what it was yesterday. Yesterday it was a 5% tornado risk back over here in upstate, but now it's just down to a 2% for Wisconsin and Michigan and uh, upper New England. So a pretty low end tornado threat. I actually wouldn't rule out an isolated strong tornado somewhere back over here on the northern section of this 2%. A little shocked we don't have a hatch risk there. I do think we could very well see a couple EF2 tornadoes in play. As we go into tomorrow, another slight risk, and this is arguably a concerning day. If you really ask me, we have a large slight risk. This includes Sioux Falls, Oshkosh, Mason City, Sioux City, Brookings, Rochester, and Mason City. I'm a little shocked we don't have an enhanced risk. This day is gonna be a very, I think we're gonna have a very elevated day. The enhanced risk would probably be placed somewhere back over here. Uh, but I am very confident in a big day of severe weather tomorrow. Tomorrow's main risk will be driven by damaging winds, only a 15%. That definitely is going to get upgraded to at least a 30% hatched risk. Hail risk is going to be the biggest concern with any initial supercells that can get going. Uh, Hail risk, I'm not really so confident in, but I think a 15% is a good number for that. Good percentage. And then the tornado risk is really lower than I would think it needs to be. Looking at some of the models, which I'll show y'all here in a minute, the models are showing basically that the 2% would I mean that tomorrow's tornado threat would verify as probably like a 10%. But they definitely are going to probably upgrade this tornado risk somewhere back over here in the next outlook, which comes out at 12:30. So we'll have a little bit of time to figure that out. But there's definitely an elevated tornado risk. I'm not exactly sure why the tornado risk is, not elevated. Also, we have a marginal risk back over here for New England, damaging winds, main concern, hail possible. No tornado threat. Gosh, no tornado threat there. And then as we go into the day 3, no real. I mean, there is a shift back to the west for the severe weather, but this day is arguably not going to be. I feel like this day is very up in the air. We do have a large slight risk, which includes Sioux Falls, Omaha, Rochester, Rapid City. We do have another marginal risk which goes way up into far northern New England. And we have another marginal risk for the Tennessee Valley and parts of the deep south, which includes Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, and etc. cities. Main concern will be damaging winds and large hail. I think is what, based on everything I'm seeing, is what it'll be for uh, Thursday. I'm a little shocked, to be honest. Well, I wouldn't say I'm shocked, but I do think they will need to expand this marginal risk or this 5% a little more outward. I do think they'll add a hatched risk, but it'll probably be back over here. I'm a little more confident, obviously Thursday, I'm a little confident that we might see a couple of downburst damaging winds that exceed 75 miles per hour back down the Tennessee Valley. That just really comes down to how strong the high pressure is. So that's something. And for the first time in a while, we don't have any day 4 through 8 outlook, so pretty quiet. Thunderstorm outlook, nothing's really going to be going on, nothing to talk about there. The rainfall, we no longer have any flooding threats. Quite literally, there isn't a single flood. I mean, tomorrow poses a flooding threat back over in Wisconsin and Michigan, but nothing too concerning. Every other day is a marginal risk. And one thing I do want to point out is actually what I do need to do first of all. Also, we're going to get rid of Canadian alerts. I do not care for them. One thing we gotta talk about is the heat. The heat is very concerning. We have a bunch of extreme heat warnings already out in effect. They'll probably continue to issue these, especially for West Tennessee, where up to 112 degrees is possible. Where are they mentioned for this? 112. Quite literally, this heat wave is going to be historic. This is going to be one that we will talk about for a while. The reason this heat wave is so concerning is just simply because it's we don't see a lot of heat waves quite like this. I don't really know how to explain. Also, we have a severe thunderstorm watch, which I did not know we had, but apparently we do have one. So we'll keep an eye on any of these storms. What in the world is this alone? This is a rogue supercell that formed. Whoa, Canada might be having some problems. Canada's really having some problems, aren't they? We'll talk about the hurricanes, everything else later. I'm not so concerned with that. Let's go to probably no. What am I doing? Models is what we want. We want the models. So okay. So these are what the models are showing. This is the 14Z run. We're actually gonna go old. We're gonna go to 12Z run so we get more of an idea. This is basically what we're talking about. This is valid at 9 a.m. so only an hour ago. It ain't gonna hurt. Uh, as we go into today, nothing really too concerning, but you are gonna start noticing some initiation get going somewhere around 4 p.m. is when the initial storm's going to get going. Might have a lone rogue supercell back over in Colorado. And then as this transition, this will eventually congeal into a cluster of storms. And we might have some ongoing storms back over here. This thing's kind of showing a Boeing echo occurring. If that does play out, then we might have some extreme damaging winds occur over in the UP of Michigan. Later on into tonight, this will be a broken line of thunderstorms racing east. Basically, this will die out relatively quickly, though. This is not going to be a long-lived mesocell convective system. And then as we approach tomorrow, it's going to be very rainy, especially if you're back over here in Minnesota and Iowa and South Dakota. It'll be very wet in the morning, probably, and this will congeal all into one big cluster. And this might actually downplay tomorrow's risk if those early morning convection doesn't get out fast enough. It does show it getting out fast enough to allow for some reinitiation, which what this is what it does show, some supercells getting going around 8 p.m. and a bunch of storms going back down over here in the deep south, along with more storms occurring back over here in the northern New England. As it's pushing through the overnight, this will congeal into one big line of thunderstorms. It'll die out immediately. We don't have the day 3 high res outlook, but we can kind of go to the GFS model real quick. It will give us a idea of what we're looking for. It's gonna be the 6Z. They haven't come out the 12Z yet, have they? Okay, they haven't. So this is as 1 a.m. The new one will come out at 12, but this is still something very good to look at. As we go into, you're gonna notice it's gonna get somewhat quiet, especially it's summertime. What this is kind of hinting at is it's kind of hinting at a very active weather pattern that's going to be occurring. So, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Like I said, we're not, obviously I'm not going to be covering this enhanced risk. It's going to be occurring late night. I don't care to cover the enhanced risk. If it's mainly a damaging wind threat, I'll just kind of like, if something bizarre goes down that I have to go live for, I will. But I didn't go live for a 131 mile per hour wind gust report. I'm not going to probably go live for any of this. The reason I didn't go live for the damaging cluster was because one, it was like 6 a.m. when it occurred. And I was like, dude, no one's gonna be up to watch the weather during that. But it flattened windmills, like it completely wrecked anything within its path. So also we got a big fire risk going on. Obviously there's concerns with the fire. Obviously it's July, everyone knows the fire risks that occur. Oh my goodness. Yeah, one thing I will need to say, is that the SPC back when they first back all the way in March, if anyone remembers when they updated the SPC uh Outlook system where they introduced instead of just doing a hatch list, they do a SIG 1, SIG 2, and SIG 3. Whenever they first started doing that, one of the first times that became a big problem, but one of the time it became the biggest problem was on March 14th. Or it was either March 14th or the 15th. Where they basically put a SIG 1 on the entire tornado risk when it never needed all that SIG 1. It was they kept on just constantly like putting a SIG 1 on every tornado risk. Where like not every single tornado risk is gonna have an EF2 potential. I mean, with every single day that there's a tornado risk, there always comes with that low chance that a strong to intense tornado could occur. But that doesn't mean you need a hatchet. It'd be better off if you don't, because then you put a lot of fear into these people. Go, oh well, it's gonna be a big tornado day. There's not. It's not. But nonetheless, it's whatever. Also, went really out. They expanded this 30%, put a 45% SIG 1. That definitely would not shock me if they did that. The wind risk is going to be such a big concern in Kansas today. Just not it's not concerning enough for me to, necessarily say, big outbreak. But I mean, today could very well be an outbreak. Okay, I mean, or a localized outbreak is what we'd call it. Uh, but even if one of these slight risk overperform and the enhanced risk fails, you're still talking about a pretty big day. Out of these three zones, because got zone one, you got zone two, and you got zone three. Out of these three zones, I would say probably if I had to rank which zones I think are going to be arguably the worst, it'd be one, two, three. And the reason, you'd say, well, hold on, Tennessee, and there's a hatch just for wind. Why would you put this one as your last? Simply because the only reason I'm putting this one as my last would be because I'm so much more confident seeing some tornadoes today, especially across upstate New York. And if we get tornadoes, that automatically overrules any wind threat that happens. It would have to be like 100 mile per hour wind gust that flattens something, and a tornado over here is like, I don't know, 90 mile per hour, weak EF1. So it wouldn't, it'd be, I don't know, I just don't think it'd be right for me to put wind over tornado. Oh yeah. All right, I guess we can talk about hurricanes. I mean, I'm not so concerned with this. Do have a chance for we have a tropical disturbance going on. It's gonna go out to sea. This thing is on satellite. Can I please get the right satellite? Continue to US. Latest trend show that this is like this is stationary almost. It's just kind of expanding itself outward. But they have mentioned it's gonna try to track east. I mean west. And if we can actually get something to track west, we could be talking about a pretty serious flooding threat that occurs back over down here in the southeast. But that really is just contingent on if this thing even moves at all. What could happen is that this thing actually does what I like to call stationary collapse, where basically it's just stationary and eventually uses all that water, all that warm water, and it just dies out in the same location. It'll stay here forever and it'll die like right here after shifting maybe up half a mile south. A stationary kill. Also, it is 10:26. It is nearly lunchtime. I haven't eaten a single thing. Okay, and I kind of want to go to McDonald's. So there's that. But that's all I got for y'all today. If something crazy goes down, I'll let y'all know. But I'll be back maybe